Hi, welcome back to Fast Monty's Garage. If this is your first time, thanks for watching. If you missed it, here's a video of what happened last time. I found a bad lifter. The lifter sheared off at the cam. The cam is a little bit mangled, so the cam has to come out, and the only way to get that lifter out of the bore is through the camshaft side. It does not come out, it's stuck. Yeah, drama. So this will be a several part series. The reason is this is a major project. The engine has to come out of the car. So it'll be fun. If you've never done this before, like I mentioned it before, just like open heart surgery, obviously we're doing a heart transplant, but once you've done one, it makes it easier to do more. And I'll be doing some tips and tricks along the way. This will be very thorough. So this will be part one of who knows how many for this process. And today's goal is just to remove the accessories, the accessory drives, because I do not want to flush the power steering fluid or the Freon out of the air conditioning system. So we're going to take the compressor off, but leave the hoses connected. Take the power steering pump off and leave the hoses connected. Now, luckily for us, I have a serpentine belt system. So we just have to take one belt off, for 2 or 3 screws for each component, and we go from there. I think the hard part's going to be taking the coolant hoses off, because if any of you have done that before, the hoses can get stuck, and that can be a hassle trying to get those off. But we'll go through that, and that's probably going to be part one. Part two will most likely be transmission removal, because I have to get under the car and start pulling all that apart, because the transmission will not come out with the engine. Believe me, I tried it. So that being said, please tell your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any questions, leave me a comment and we can go from there. So I'll see you in a minute. All right, here we go. We have 2 Allen screws to loosen. So this is on the alternator and this is on the compressor. Now what that does on a March serpentine belt system is that's the belt tensioner. So as soon as you loosen those, you can pivot the 2 units inwards. It loosens the belt, and then we'll take off this cover plate on one of the idler pulleys, and we should be able to slide the belt off. So here we go. There we go. And we'll save that for later, because we got to put it back on. It's brand new. It's only had 1,000 miles on it. While we're here, I'm going to put the cover back on so we don't lose any parts. That's what drives me crazy when you're trying to look for one little part. Okay. So I switched sides and we're going to tackle the compressor. There's one bolt on the bottom, also an Allen. I'm going to go ahead and take that one fully out. Now that I have it loose, I'm actually just using the Allen head from the socket so I can spin it out with my hand. There it is. Now I can take the top bolt out. Notice it has a little carrier in it, so this end slides in the channel, so when you tighten it up. I forgot, there's another bolt. This is just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. That's the bolt we're trying to get out. I forgot, it's on the back side. On the front side of this axis was the other bolt. So we just need to loosen this bolt, and then we can pull the compressor out. Alright, I got it loose. And there we go. Now we're on the driver's side, and we have, this is the power steering pump. And those of you who have ever dealt with trying to flush a power steering system, it's not fun. So we're just going to take the whole bracket off. This whole bracket is attached by 2 Allen screws here, and it should just pop off, and we can just rest it on the gearbox. I'm also going to get that ground strap off while we're here too. Nothing is ever as easy as it seems. So when I went to move the power steering pump, the bottom import tube is hitting the gearbox and the bracket's hitting the alternator. So I'm going to take the alternator out and see if we can't move this aside. The alternator actually has a bolt on the back. Same deal as with the compressor. I left this bolt up here, so I'm just going to take this bolt out. And there we go. Now that the alternator is removed, let's see if we can get this power steering pump out of here. Hey, and there we go. And that's as far as we had to move it, because we don't need a lot of room to really get the engine out. So I'm going to leave it there. That looks awesome. We're back on the passenger side, and we're going to try and tackle this coolant line that goes into the water pump. Coolant lines are notorious for sticking on the hose bib, which is never fun. So we're going to go ahead and take the hose clamp off, slide it up the hose to get out of the way, and then we're going to see how easy it is to get this off. I have a feeling it's not going to be. This is a 5/16 socket. And as I guessed, it's stuck on there. So I'm gonna get another tool. So the hose is stuck on there. We can try and wiggle it off, but I can tell it's stuck on the nipple. Plan B is to take some channel locks and see if you can twist it to break the seal. And I just did. Now I can turn it. And it comes right off. Now we're going to do the same thing with the lower radiator hose, which I know is going to be 10 times more difficult. Because you can see the diameter change here. I'm pretty sure this hose took me like a half an hour to put on. Struggling, forcing it on. It wouldn't fit. So we'll see. And the hose clamp is thoroughly embedded in there. Nice. This is actually a seal puller. It just happened to be on my workbench, so I grabbed it. What I might end up doing is actually just cutting it off and getting a whole new hose, because nothing wrong with getting a new hose. Okay, when we broke it loose, luckily I can just pull on it. All right. It's full of water. Let's leave it right there. We're back at the top of the engine. Man, I hate looking at this thing. It's terrible. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cover the engine compartment, even though we are going to clean it. No sense in making our jobs worse. These are freshly cleaned shop rags. And our next step is to remove these hoses right here. You can see these nipples I added. This is a cooling trick where most Pontiac heads will overheat on the driver's side, because this nipple is not here. I added this one. On stock heads, there's no nipple here. So when water actually stagnates in this area of the head, and when the car overheats, has no place to go, and will typically blow this head gasket right here. So what I did is I added a nipple, both heads. It actually tees in the back, and that goes into the firewall, into the heater core. There's actually a bypass valve there too, and then comes back around under the fender into the water pump. And what that does is constantly moving water through both heads and around back to the water pump. So my engine does not exceed 165 degrees, which is the thermostat, racing thermostat setting. So pretty cool. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to loosen these hose clamps. I'm willing to bet they're stuck on there, so we're going to use the channel lock trick and hopefully pry them off. So that'll most likely be fast forwarded through the whole thing. Here we go. Whew. 2 done. Okay, we're in. So this is going to conclude this part of the video. The next part 2 will be under the car. So that'll be longer. We'll have to take out the transmission. Yeah, that's fun. The headers. So I will most likely loosen some of the bolts on this side, but then we can take the remainder of the bolts out from the bottom of the car, and we'll go from there. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll see you in part 2.